and welcome to economics class. As usual, today we are going to see the dimensions of economics or branches of economics. Economics is basically of two branches. One, microeconomics, and two, macroeconomics. Let me start with the first one that says microeconomics. This means that it is originated from the word micro, a Greek word that is written like this, mikros, meaning that small. And when it says small, it doesn't mean that the behavior that is being analyzed or being observed or being predicted is small. No. But the approach that is used to study an economic agent like a buyer, a seller, or a household, and how the productive activities are being arranged is small. Because if you use a way or a method to study a particular activity, then you look at the participant in that activity. Are they many or are they few? If there are few, then you know that that method is small. But if there are many, then you know that the approach will include everybody. That is why it is called micro, because it is adopting a very small approach to study the behavior of human beings. Microeconomics is concerned with choice. And remember, choice is one of the basic concepts studied in economics, like scale of preference, opportunity cost, and the rest. Choice as the basic concept of economics is the center through which economics is being built. For example, how an individual person makes choice about how he will use his income to satisfy his needs, or how a household will devote their resources to satisfy their own needs, or how a firm, as a part of an industry, will use their resource to produce goods and services. So by trying to use an approach to study the behavior of this economic agent, then we know that the approach is small. And this can be attributed to microeconomics because we assume that, or we forget what is happening in other economic environments. Now, after choice, microeconomics is also concerned with what an enterprise should operate in the industry. And when we say an enterprise, we mean a business venture that is operating in an industry. So by this, we mean that what market structure is viable. As I said, microeconomics is also concerned with what an enterprise should operate. So what do you mean by this is that the market structure, and the market structure is the description of what an industry is operating. An industry is the composition of different firms that are operating in it, that are using similar input to produce related output. So by the market structure, there are various degrees of size of the firms and the number of the firms that constitute the industry. Under the market structure, we have something like perfect competition. This is an industry that constitutes many buyers and many sellers of goods and services. And it poses no restriction during the entry and exit of the industry. That means there is perfect information about the market situation. Anybody that has the capital, as low as it is, can participate in the industry. So because of this reason, anybody can enter into the market. And the product that is being sold under perfect competition is unidentical. That means it cannot be differentiated from which firm it was bought from or it was purchased. For example, the agricultural product. Any firm that produces millet or maize cannot be differentiated. That maize cannot be differentiated from other farms' produce. Why? Because there is no brand there is no means of identification. So any farm can produce the same quality and size, or the same quality and feature of maize. So that is one example of a market structure. Apart from perfect competition, we also have what we call monopoly. What do we mean by monopoly? Is the market situation in which there is only one seller of a product and there are many buyers of that product. For example, in an economy where you have market, where you have government as the provider of security, you have military, you have police. Apart from government, no one else provides this security. That is, nobody hires and trains military personnel or police. So in this case, government has the monopoly of training and providing military personnel. So this is an example of a monopoly. So it can be differentiated because it has only one firm dominating the industry. So the approach we are using here is small, to study the behavior of the firm under market structure. Because apart from market, there are other economic agents that have nothing to do with the market, but they are playing a role in one way or the other in the economy. But they are somehow neglected because they are not included in our approach to study the behavior of the market agents. Now, apart from monopoly, then the next one under market structure is oligopoly. This is a market situation in which there are few sellers of a product and there are many buyers. Why are there few sellers? It's because there is restriction in terms of entry and exit, and there is very high capacity of the capital. So until a firm or an individual or a group of individuals meet with these conditions, they cannot operate in oligopolistic markets. And the goods that are being, or the products that are being sold under this market situation are identical. One can easily differentiate the product of a particular firm from other firms' product. For example, in communication, if you can notice, there are few service providers. For example, service provider X, service provider Y, service provider G, and others. So there are few, you can count them. These service providers are supplying mobile network, and you can easily identify which brand you want to choose from and which brand you don't want to choose from. So that is another example of a market structure. So the approach, as I said, used to analyze, observe, and study the behavior of this economic sector is very small. Because if you are studying oligopoly, you are not including monopolistic market and perfect competition. So a market structure is being studied under microeconomics. Now, another thing that is in concern with the microeconomics is what goods and services should be produced. This is concerned with the nature of the product that buyers are interested in buying or have the wish to own. For example, we have capital goods. These are the goods that are used to produce another good or service. For example, machinery and other equipment that we see in some factories or other businesses. Now, these capital goods are not meant for consumption. They are used to produce another good. So, who decide, or the way that is used to decide the nature of the goods that is going to be produced is the concern of microeconomics. That is even a question that is called what to produce. So this can be known or can be identified through research about the behavior of the consumers. What is their interest about the good they want to own? From there, the firm and the businesses should know what to produce. Apart from capital goods, then consumer goods. And what we mean by consumer goods are the goods or service that consumers buy or purchase for their immediate consumption. For example, a car, a pen, an exercise book, a bag, and so on and so forth. But you can say that, oh, this good can be used for a productive process. Yes, some of them can be used for productive process, and some they can be used for immediate consumption. For example, somebody can buy a car, not for consumption, but for transportation services. So in this case, the car is serving as a productive good. But if it is used for personal transport, then it can be regarded as a consumer good. Another thing under microeconomics is what techniques of production should be used. This is another concern of microeconomics. Now, at different productive process, they adopt a productive technique or techniques used for their production. One is the capital intensive technique. In this one, it does more with the machinery and other equipment than human beings. So the humans that are employed in the factory or in any productive process are few, because it is using equipment and other machinery. So even those that are employed, they are into the business to operate the machinery. So this is called capital intensive technique. And this has to do with the capacity and capital of the firm. If the firm has enough money, it can adopt this. If it doesn't have, then it can use what we call labor intensive technique. In labor intensive technique, it has to do more with the people rather than the machinery or equipment. For example, in a farm, where people are hired to do farm activities, as you can notice, because our economy is not developed, so we are not using mechanized method of producing crops. So you can notice that there are many people that are employed to a farm activity. So that is what we call labor intensive, because it is doing more with people than machinery or equipment. Now, having seen one dimension of economics, which is microeconomics, the second one is macroeconomics. This macroeconomics is also derived from a Greek word called macro. And what it means by macro is large. So what we say large is, when we take a look at the economy, we see it large, considered to when we see it in a very small point of view, like if we are studying an individual person or a household. But if we try to observe the behavior of the entire economy or the whole economy, we see that we are adopting a very large approach. So that is why it is called macroeconomics. It is concerned with the determination of aggregate figures in the economy. The aggregate figures, for example, unemployment rate. In an economy, you can notice that maybe in the media, you'll be seeing that the economy of a particular country's unemployment rate is, let's say, 14%. So this means that in every 100 people in that economy, 14 are unemployed. Now, if you can observe this example, you can see that you are talking about the whole economy. That means everywhere, people are everywhere. Some are working, some are not working. So any 100 people that you see in whatever area, 14 of them are unemployed. So this is trying to give us a whole picture of the economy. The second aggregate figure is investment. And when we say investment, we mean the use of income for future production. For example, if you have income, part of it you spend it for consumption and part of it you use it to generate income in the future, then you are investing it. Now, if you look at the economy as a whole, that is investment by the government, investment by businesses, investment by individual people like me and you. So in that investment, the one we are talking about here is the one that takes a look at the economy as a whole. So this is another aggregate figure that is used in macroeconomic. The next thing is export. That is taking good from a particular country to another good. So what we mean by export is, as I said, taking good from a particular country to another country. For example, in Nigeria, there are many goods that are produced here. So when you take them to another country, say Niger, Ghana, or whatever country, then you are exporting them. Now, the goods, whether it is produced by a particular firm or whatever, can be attributed to the whole economy, because as you are exporting it to another country, it will generate income to the country in which it was produced. The next thing is import. When we say import, we talk about bringing goods from other country to a particular country. For example, as you ship in goods from China to Nigeria, you are importing goods or you are importing service. But you can say, how can we import service? If you go to India for medical attention, or if you go to China for education, then you are importing service, because it is the people, whether they are citizens or whatever, as long as they are operating in that country, it is them that are rendering the service to you. But if anybody comes to Nigeria, for example, for education or for medical attention, then we say we are exporting service. So when you look at these two activities, then you are referring it to the whole economy, not to a particular sector of the economy. And the next thing that is concerned with the macroeconomics is inflation. Inflation is the persistent rise in the prices of goods and services. Now, in the whole economy, as you can see, there is a general price level that touches almost everything. Now, when you measure the prices of goods generally in the economy, then you are observing, or you are talking about the whole economy, not a specific sector of the economy. So the inflation affects almost everybody in the economy. For example, if there is persistent rise in fuel in a particular country, that rise in the price of fuel will affect almost every productive process, because it uses fuel in one way or the other. If it is not using it to fuel their machinery, it has to use it in transport, because it has to move goods from one place to another. So definitely the inflation has effect on the productive process anywhere.